Hey, how you guys doing? It's produced from Brothers Comics. Welcome to the Dey Over 40 podcast for long time, long suffering Cincinnati Bengals fans. Who Dey, everybody. So yeah, we are in the off season. Looking to go over the schedule, a 2 day over 40 versus the schedule that released the other day. Each team was charged with this idea of, creating this funny video to release the schedule. I'm not sure how I feel about that altogether, but we'll go over the games just like everybody else does on their podcast after it gets released with the win loss. I got the Goat Killah on my side. Hutch and Sandman aren't available right now. So we're going to go through it and see what we think with our predictions. Last year, we were very optimistic and we were way off, primarily once Joe Burrow got hurt and then the defense completely fell apart. With the Bengals in their offseason, hopefully have made some moves to turn that around, and let's see how it goes. All right, so game by game, but let's look into the Bengals news first. First up, Bengals have signed all but two of their draft picks. It's the first and the second round pick that actually have not been signed with Amarius Mims and Chris Jenkins. Everybody else is signed. Again, if you're a longtime Bengals fan, you know that the rookie salary scale and cap is the only thing that's prevented the long holdouts from the Bengals first round picks primarily over the course of time. You can tick them off the top of your head, from Dan Wilkinson to Kajana Carter to Jeff Blake to Dave. It's the rookie scale, which was proposed by Mike Brown and the Bengals to get that in, because the rookie scales for the first round picks were getting out of control. Now with all the salaries essentially being slotted with adjustments in the where the pick is and adjustments for inflation over year to year, it's pretty much a done deal. There's not a whole lot of bargaining going on with the agents about money and all of that. It's pretty much a done deal. I assume that those two picks will be done within the next couple of weeks or days, and they'll have everybody signed by the time training camp rolls around. Definitely they'll be in by the final OTA, which we'll get to at the end of the pod. Other news and notes, the Bengals did just finish up one of their voluntary OTAs. T. Higgins not there because technically he's not under contract. Joe Burrow was there, slinging the ball all around. There's videos of him throwing a deep ball to Jermaine Burton, which got everybody excited. And that's great. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move through the offseason. But probably the biggest thing there was Trey Hendrickson was there. Nobody was anticipating him being there after making his trade request. He came, he spoke to the media as well. He could have easily ducked that, and he didn't. And essentially he said, I want to win a Super Bowl here in Cincinnati. I think we have the quarterback to do it. And, being a good teammate, to his current teammates, the new teammates, trying to set an example for them, which is why he showed up to the OTA. So good for Trey Hendrickson. We'll see how that goes over in terms of him getting a new deal. Again, if you think he's underpaid, that's fine. The issue, as I said in the previous pod, is like he should not have signed the extension last year. Then should have played on his deal and would have gotten the free agency this year. And then he could have told the Bengals to kick rocks if he goes out and gets 17 and a half sacks. He's going to wind up being one of the top paid defensive ends in the league. But now he's stuck under that contract through next year now. And, so trying to get any new money out of the Bengals would be pretty interesting to see how they handle it. Bengals not big on setting precedents. People asking for trades and you're not going to get one. Or like, hey, I need to renegotiate my deal before, especially since they already renegotiated it. Probably not a good sign. But he was there, so good for him. I was surprised that he showed up. And I think a lot of the people in Cincinnati were too. All right, so the 2024 schedule. The Bengals and the other teams in the league had these videos. The Bengals was, it was kind of kid-like, I guess. It is what it is. Some other teams took shots at their, division rivals or something like that. The Bengals really didn't do any of that. Before the schedule was released, it was announced that the Bengals would be playing the Chiefs in week 2 in Kansas City at the 4:00 national game. So we knew about that game going ahead. And then really it was about, well, who are they opening with? Goat Killah and I were like, not another division game. We just don't want to see that, especially since the Bengals did so poorly in the division last year. And so that was pretty much it. Like, who we playing? The rumors had it down to like between the Commanders and the Patriots, and that's who it wound up being, was with the Patriots. So the Bengals open up the season September 8th in Cincinnati, get a home game finally against the Patriots, and let's see how it goes. Goat Killah and I were speaking about how the Bengals technically, but Joe Burrow technically should be 0 and whatever for or for openers. Period. His rookie year, that happened. The next year, that Kansas City game that they, or excuse me, the Minnesota Vikings game that they won, they definitely should have lost. And then the games that came after that too, Cleveland last year, like they have not been very good. We all know about the 0-2 starts, and then like, oh yeah, by the way, the season's starting now. We all know about the club Bengals, or club Zach Taylor, that, hey, you know what, we just take it easy through in training camp. And I don't think that the Bengals should do that. And the way the schedule has set up this year, they really have a good opportunity to get out to a very strong start and to potentially finish with a very strong start, or a strong finish, and have a good number of wins headed into the playoffs. All right, so we're going to do it Marvin Lewis style, where he broke the season up into quarters. It kind of works like that with 17, but we'll figure it out. Here we go. All right, so the win-loss record, y'all. First game of the season, the Cincinnati Bengals host. Uh, they host the New England Patriots, y'all. They are the largest opening day favorite. They are already favored by more than, I think it's 8+ points, something like that, ahead of the game. Patriots have a new coach. We'll have a new quarterback. It'll either be Drake May or Jacoby Brissett starting the season. You would think that would be a favorable situation for the Bengals. All right, so I'm taking that as a dub. I don't know who wouldn't take that as a dub, but yeah, the Bengals open the season 1-0 for only the second time in the Joe Burrow era. All right, Goat Killah, you got the same. Yes, 1-0, perfect. All right, so win over the Patriots. All right, week 2, y'all. Like I said, it was already announced that they would play at Kansas City. I think it's the 4th year in a row, 5 total games that they play because of the playoffs. Yeah, it's a lot. It's, 4 total games. So it's been a lot, and most of them have been in friggin' Kansas City, for God's sake. So that's where it is. So at Kansas City, 425, Chiefs' second game of the year. They're going to open up their season as the Super Bowl champs that previous Thursday night against the Ravens. So yeah, so they can go out and put the Ravens in a hole early. That would be nice. But yeah, so the Bengals at Kansas City. What are you saying, Goat Killah? A dub. Okay. So 2-0 over the Chiefs. I'm gonna say the same thing. The Chiefs are their offseason has not been great. Their best wide receiver is a whole criminal menace. They're got 2 on the offensive linemen just got arrested for weed. Their kicker, punter, or whatever Harrison Buckner is a whole ass misogynist, and announced it to the world. If again what he made a Taylor Swift reference in his little speech at that college. Man, if I'm Travis Kelce, he's catching hands when I get in that locker room. Absolutely. But we'll see how it goes. You're torn. You want them to beat the Ravens because that's our division foe, but then you want us to beat them too. It's going to be tough. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm taking that dub right there with Goat Killah. Yeah. All right. Week 3, y'all. Washington, Monday Night Football, September the 23rd. Probably would be the Ring of Honor game if I had to shoot a guess. I'm taking that as a dub too. Washington, Jaden Daniels should be the quarterback by that point if he's not already. Bengals do struggle with running quarterbacks and with rookie quarterbacks. There's been a long line of those, but they'll be at home. I think they'll be ready for that, and if the case that they do lose to the Chiefs, they'll be really fired up to try to get that lick back when they come back to come home. So yeah, I'm taking a dub. So I got them to 3-0. Goat Killah, yours the same. 3-0 over the Commanders. All right, so we got them starting out 3-0, and then week 4 is at the Carolina Panthers, a 1 o'clock game on Fox. We know the Panthers are in rebuild mode. Their quarterback is 4'7". Um, it, it's just not a good team at this point in time. I got them at 4-0. What do you got? 4-0 as well. Yeah. So I see the Bengals getting off to a hot start. At worst, they're 3-1 after 4 games because they lost probably to the Chiefs. But the Bengals need to get off to a hot start. They can't start 0-2 for God's sake, and they need to get going and get that momentum going as that first quarter of the season ends. All right, let's jump to the next quarter, weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8. Week 5 at Baltimore, or excuse me, in Cincinnati. Sorry, in Cincinnati, 1 o'clock start. Uh, they've struggled with Baltimore when Lamar plays. There's haven't actually been that many games between Lamar and Joe Burrow. Between injuries between the both of them, they've actually skipped games between one another, and they actually haven't played that much this past season. Lamar got the win in Cincinnati. Bengals were winning when Joe Burrow got hurt in Baltimore, and you never know what was going to happen there. But I think that's a revenge game for them. I think I talked about this on the previous pod that Joe Burrow looks like he's on a mission. So as long as his body holds up, I think that continues here. So I got him going 5-0 to start. Goat Killah, where you got? You want to take the dub as well? All right. So Goat Killah takes the dub. So a 5-0 start for the Bengals. And then at the Giants on Monday Night Football as well. No, or Sunday Night Football, excuse me. Sunday Night Football at the Giants. Giants are bad. They're not a very good football team. It is in New York, though, prime time. I would imagine that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were going to want to show out here because they get this national game in the largest market in the United States. I'm taking the Bengals to 6-0. What do you got with the Giants? Yep, 6-0 over the Giants. And then at Cleveland, that following Sunday, this is going to be my first loss. I just think they're on a roll. They don't play well against Cleveland. They don't play well in Cleveland in the Joe Burrow era. And I think that's going to be their first loss of the season. And I'm not even saying that the Browns are any good. I just think that that's just a tough place for them. You never know what you're going to get with the Browns. They could be a complete dumpster fire by this point, or they could be playing really well. There's no feast, it's feast or famine with the Browns. What do you got with the Browns? Take the L. All right. So we got them to 6-1 as well. All right. And then the next week, they're hosting the Eagles, 425 in Cincinnati. I don't know what I think about the Eagles either. I really don't. That team completely fell apart after starting. When did they start? 10-0 last season? It was something crazy. Yeah, and then they fell apart completely. They brought back the same coaching staff. It's just, I don't know. I really have no idea what they are. They always draft well. They always have the proper players. It's not that. But yeah, the first matchup between the two quarterbacks here, like I don't know. The Bengals are at home, so I'll take the Bengals there to get them to 7-1, and that's that. What do you got? 7-1, okay, over the Eagles. So we're in agreement there. And then they play Las Vegas in Cincinnati on November the 3rd. The game before the election. Hopefully there'll be a season after this. I'm taking the Bengals here to get to 8-1 over the Raiders. Are you taking the Bengals as well? All right. So weeks 5, 6, 7, and 8. We already went into 8-9. So 5, 6, 7, 8. We had them at 7-1, both of us, and then getting to 8-1 once we play the Eagles. Oh, excuse me, once we're playing the Raiders. So, again, the Bengals, it's hot start. There's really nobody on this schedule that you're like, man, I'm not really sure if they can beat them. They may lose, but I'm not like, oh my God, that team's going to be so much better than Cincinnati, besides the Chiefs. So if that's the case, maybe you put Baltimore in there. But if that's the case, like what, there's no reason that they can't, outside of injury, knock on wood, that they couldn't be this. What at worst they're what 6-2, 7-2, after the Raiders game. That's where they would need to be. I think, I guess maybe worse would be 6-3, but they really need to be no more than 2 to 3 losses at this point because the schedule is really worked out for them. All right, then after that, it's at Baltimore on a Thursday night, almost a year to the date from the wrist injury that Joe Burrow suffers. The Goat Killer's already given me the L sign, so he's taking the L. I'll take it there too, just to make things even out for the home records there and get the Bengals to 8-2. Again, how we don't know anything about Baltimore. Like, hey, Lamar is there. They lost their defense coordinator. That's a huge deal with Mike McDonald, moving out to San Francisco. Or no, where did he go? Seattle, excuse me. And, I think that's a big deal. But by mid-season, they'll probably be where they need to be. And this is kind of coming right at that. And then the next week they go out to LA and play against the Chargers. And I'm not sure how I feel about that either. You know, coach from that former school up north that picked a team with the same colors as that stupid school, by the way. He'll get them in order. I just don't know, again, like if his style will work with these new NFL dudes. I don't know if we get a little bit of revolt. It definitely felt like there was some smoke to that rumor that he wanted to get rid of the quarterback. And, because they always want to come in with their own guys. He's going to be looking to turn the ball and hand off. He's not trying to throw it. If you've ever watched the Michigan game, that's really what they're trying to do, even though he has, a quarterback who can throw it all over the field and Justin Herbert. But I'm not really sure if that's what he wants to do. Could there be some growing pains? We're already past the midway point of the season. I don't know. November 17th in LA. So losing here, the Bengals will have 2 L's in a row based on our scheduling. I'm gonna take a dub here and get to 9-2. What do you think?
They're going across the country after Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna want to run the ball, and depending on if they can stop it or not,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Okay, so you're gonna take an L.
Yeah.
All right. So getting them to 8-3. All right. So that's where we're kind of differentiating here. All right. Then they get the bye week. We're gonna take the dub over them, and then week 13, the first Steelers game, so late in the season. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's in Cincinnati. It's 1 o'clock start. Who knows what Pittsburgh's going to be, which quarterback's going to be playing at that time. Again, they're going to get 8 or 9 wins because that's just who they are, so they'll be tough. You're taking the dub. I'm going to take the dub as well. You got them to 9-3. I got them at 10-2. Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, again, it's what is Russell Wilson at this point? Who knows? Could he be recharged and reinvigorated, maybe with a coach that believes in him? Maybe, but could he also be completely shot, which is what we started to see at the end of Seattle, and then for this 1 year with the Broncos? That's kind of where I'm at with that. Week 14, y'all, at the Dallas Cowboys, prime time Monday night on my birthday, by the way. So, what do you got? The Goat Killer is taking a win here over the Cowboys to get to 10-3. I am also taking that to get them to 10-2. I don't trust the Cowboys. Again, talk about you never know what you're going to get. Their quarterback is on the hot seat because he's looking for a deal. Their coach is definitely on the hot seat. If they somehow come out terrible, he's probably going to be the first coach fired. It's just, yeah. I don't think the Cowboys are very good either. They just play in a terrible division because all these teams that we're talking about the Bengals beating, between the Commanders and the Giants and the Cowboys, they're all in the same division and they're all stink. That's probably why the Eagles been able to run away with it a little bit. All right. The next week, week 15, at Tennessee, I'm taking another dub to get to 11-2. I just don't trust the new coach, even though we know him very well. It's just, Will Greer is still Will Greer. Their defense will be great. It'll be a nice, Will Levis, sorry. Yeah. They tied Will Greer, I think, too. But anyway, um, he is what he is. They're gonna run the ball. They're gonna be able to run the ball. I just uh, I I I just like Cincinnati in that thing. It's a young coach. Not like they're not gonna know what he's gonna run on offense. They see it every week themselves. So I think they win that game. And again, this is all barring no injuries. You're taking a dub,
Yeah,
11-3 over the
the
Nashville. That's the game we should maybe consider going to, by the way. Anyway, all right. Next, after that, another short week playing the Browns in prime time on a Thursday. Short turnaround. See, I could consider them losing that game. Yeah, I do too. Like they don't play them very well. It's
Tennessee from going because Tennessee plays tough because that's just who they are, and
hmm
going to Cleveland on a short week.
yeah.
You're not.
No, it's in Cincinnati, but I just don't. They don't play the Browns very well for whatever reason, man. It's just not working very well. Maybe Amarius Mims is starting now and he's shutting out, their defensive ends. I don't really know, but I'm gonna take an L here, and you're taking one too. So you got them at 11-4 with an L to the Browns. I got them at 11-3 with an L to the Browns. All right, and then the next week hosting the Broncos. Yeah, that's a win. Broncos are bad. No telling who's quarterbacking that team at that point. But yeah, Broncos are bad. So you're gonna take that at 12-4. I'm taking them to a 12-3. And then last game of the season at the Steelers, January the 4th. Happy New Year. I'm probably taking this as an L as well, but I mean, that splits them in the division. Like essentially, they are 3-3 in the division, and now do you win the division at that point? Because you're 3-3, you're taking two L's to. Actually, no, you're worse than that. You're taking two L's to the Browns that we took, right? And then the loss at Baltimore, and then a loss to the Steelers. That's four. Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. What?
I don't see them losing to the Steelers at all.
At all? Neither game. Okay. So I'm gonna take. You're gonna take them to 13-4. I'm gonna take them to. Wait, sorry. This should have been 12-3, 13-3. I'm gonna take them to also 13-4. We just disagree on the Steelers. Because I'm taking that as an L there. So we both got them finishing 13-4. This is where we were last year too. To be honest with you, we were really optimistic that they were going to.
2022, they were 12-5.
Hmm?
When they were healthy in 2022, they were 12-5.
Yeah.
And they won like 10 games straight.
Yeah.
So it's very possible.
It is very possible. There's not a There's no doubt that they could actually win 13 games. And again, a lot of it will depend on health and how good or how bad the defense is over time here. But it's totally possible for them to win. I just, so much is uncertain, I guess. And again, the start is probably going to be the biggest bit because in theory they should be able to rack up 6 wins very early in this schedule because of how bad the teams are. And then even if you went 500 on the way out, if you go six, you win your first 6 or 7 ish, and you win that, and then if you go 5-5 on the way out, you're 11-5. So I mean, this is a playoff team. The schedule works in the Bengals' favor, obviously, because they do have a last place schedule this year after the struggles of being 9-8 the season before. So yeah, man. That's really it. So we got them at 13-4. What's going on for the rest of this? Off-season dates here. May 28th, they have their last organized team activity. And then the mandatory mini camp comes in June, like the second week in June, the 11th through the 13th. And that's the mandatory mini, where we'll see if T won't show up because he's not under contract. But Jamar should be there. I mean, again, they're both training. If you have social media, you see them both. They're getting in shape. They're not sitting on their laurels or whatever. They're going to be ready. Yeah. So they're going to be set and ready to go when that happens. And again, I would not expect to see T Higgins until probably the week before the last uh preseason game, and he'll come out there and do that. It wouldn't surprise me if they have in that dark period after that mandatory OTA, if he's out throwing and catching with Joe Burrow and all of that, because they usually do have their secret throwing sessions over there during the season. So But that's it, y'all. 13-4 is obviously a playoff team. Is 13-4 enough to get you home field throughout? You would think. You would think, but obviously it's the Chiefs. There's nobody else in the AFC that like blows you away anywhere except for if the Ravens continue where they are. But if they do that, you're not going to be 13-4 more than likely anyway. Or that's it. Maybe the Dolphins, but they're going to be down too. Like, there's just no team in the AFC that you're like, oh my God, outside of the Chiefs, the Bengals should definitely fear that team. Like, oh, whatever. I know I have them losing to the Browns 2 times, but that's primarily just because it's just a bad matchup. But at some point in time, y'all need to not make it a bad matchup and win some games against the Browns of all people. All right, y'all. So that'll be it for us. We will come back. I don't know. I guess we'll be back, in a couple of weeks here, maybe at the OTAs, the mandatory OTA, or it's the mandatory mini camp, maybe there. No emergency pods. God, please, no emergency pods. We don't want anybody to get hurt or injured like that. And that's it. All right. So as the producer of this podcast, I'm signing off. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, y'all. Who dat?